Hello everyone and welcome to Whisky Wednesday. I'm a little bit late with this one because it's been out for a couple of months now, but this is Macallan Estate. Why is it called the Macallan Estate? Essentially because they grow a lot of barley on their own site. It's quite a large site of the whole distillery, and for 1 week of the year they distill that barley. This is aged stock from those distillations. It's a non-age statement product at 43% alcohol. It's all natural colour. I'm unsure if it's chill filtered or not. We can probably assume that it is, just because it's a big brand. Big brands tend to chill filter. But we want to dive into this a bit more today. It's a very fancy box and a very fancy looking bottle. This little blue band it has is very reminiscent of the old Macallan 30-year-old, so it adds a premium element to it, which is quite nice. Whether you're a Macallan fan or whether you have gone away from the brand to things like Glendronach or Dalmore or even like Bowmore or Bunnahabhain, these kind of big sherried whiskies, Macallan will still, in my opinion, still be one of the best whiskies ever made. They make very, very, very good whiskey. Pricing is just an option now. You know, it prices a lot of us regular folk out the market who want to try something really special. This is a £195 bottle of whiskey. Only you as consumers, as well as myself, can be a judge of if it's worth that. But we'll dive into it, we'll talk a little bit about it. This on the actual bottle is actually a piece of slate, which is quite a nice feature. It does add a very kind of welcoming approach to the bottle, rather than being like all fancy and covered in gold and things like that. That can get a bit chintzy and a bit tacky. So I do like the presentation. It's very over the top, it's very grandiose, as you'd expect from Macallan. I do like the simplicity of the logo. But it's been open for a while. Let's smell it, we'll taste it, we'll talk about it, and we'll see if it fits that kind of premium bill that Macallan now kind of place themselves quite nicely in. So first of all, the smell. It's very reminiscent of things like older bottlings of Macallan 12, you know, that kind of the old red burgundy kind of metallic bottling. And some old Macallan 18s as well. It's got that nice kind of ginger snap, ginger biscuit thing going on with it. The nose is actually lovely. It's like orange and cinnamon, ginger. There's a wonderful bit of milk chocolate kicking around it. I'm going to assume that all the whiskey that is gone into this bottle is aged in sherry casks, be they European and or American oak, because there's a nice bit of like funky spice on the nose, which I associate with European oak most of the time. But there's also a lightness and a crispness which you get from American oak too. But yeah, it's loaded with that kind of classic Macallan chocolatey, winter spice, cinnamon and ginger notes. But I believe, and if I'm incorrect, feel free to correct me in the comments, this is the new Master Blender's first whiskey. Is it Master Blender or Master Distiller? I think it's Master Blender. Sarah Burgess. It was Bob Delgado for a very long amount of time. I don't think he does it anymore. Then Nick Savage, who I believe is now at the Bladnoch Distillery. And Sarah Burgess has stepped into the foray. Quite an intimidating job really, isn't it? You know, the Master Blender of Macallan, that's a lot of stuff to deal with. But we wish her all the best for the future, and this is her first outing with the Macallan. So, taste-wise, let's see what's happening with it. Does it deliver some classic Macallan notes like it does on the nose? It does actually taste a lot better than it smells. When I first opened this, I didn't get a lot off the nose, which is actually quite a common thing with a lot of Macallans I've opened in the past. They take a while to just air themselves out and really stretch the flavour profile out. I think this has been open for about a month now, maybe a little bit less. And originally it was just like quite woody, didn't really give me much, but now it's got a wonderful mouthfeel. It reminds me a lot of older Macallan 18-year-olds. I want to make it older, I mean like older vintages and older releases. Mainly the ones from those purple metallic box days. Wonderful texture, fizzy and bright, really kind of lines all the sides of your tongue, runs those kind of sherry notes up and down them quite a lot. Really, really inviting and really welcoming. And then this wonderful combination of like orange and chocolate and coffee comes through. Lovely earthy notes, but earthy and sweet. Takes a slight bitter turn. You get into that kind of orange zest, orange pith and oil. And kind of darker chocolates, darker coffee beans. I'm going to actually try it again because it tastes a lot better than the last time I tried it. I'm pleasantly surprised by that. So I'm going to give it another go. It's good. It's really, it tastes great. It really, really tastes like coffee. A really milky coffee. It tastes lovely. If you give it me blind, there are some elements of it that are classic Macallan, which I've already covered and sort of talked about. But then you always look at the price tag, and premium brands will always have, will always have a problem of price points. So the Macallan 12-year-olds, they start at a pretty reasonable price, like 50, 60 pounds. And they move up and they become more intense, but the 18-year-old is like 300 pounds now. This is 195. As of this video filming, they've broken the record again for the most expensive bottle of whiskey in the world. It was about £1 million. Now it's £1.45 million with fees for the exact same bottle, the 1926 distilled 60-year-old. But this one had the normal label, not the Peter Blake or the Adami label. So they are the most expensive whiskey brand on the planet. So I suppose that price in this sense is fairly reflective of that. If this was £100 a bottle, I would buy it. Some people might not agree with that, which is totally fine, but if it cost £100, I would buy it. It's luxurious, it's rich, it makes me feel decadent. It has a nice bit of spice towards the end of it. It's not just a smooth whiskey. And when I talk to people who drink Macallan and spend a lot of money on Macallan, they drink whiskey just because it's smooth. If I'm spending this kind of money on whiskey, I want something interesting. And it is interesting. It's got a pretty cool story. It looks fantastic. The taste is a very, very, very good quality. But I just don't think it's worth the money. Double what I'd pay for it, essentially. So on that, that does kind of deduct its score in my mind. You should always think about pricing. Be it a sample or be it a full-size bottle, price should always play a very important part in your mind. Is it worth the push? And I don't think this one is. If it was £100 a bottle, I'd get like a solid 8.5. I really like the taste of it. It's very well balanced. If this is the kind of whiskey Sarah's going to be bringing out with Macallan in the future, then awesome, I'm all there. But I'm not there on the price, unfortunately. I get it's, from crop that's only distilled once a year. I totally understand that. But does it warrant the price? I don't think it does. So it would be an 8.5 if it was £100. Because it's £200, I'm going to take a whole point off it, so it drops it down to a 7.5, which is still a very good score. We score things like Jameson's a 7. What else have we scored a 7 in the past? I can't remember. I'm sure you guys can remember. But great whiskey, well made, well put together, great story, great distillery, great passion. Just a bit too expensive. But that's how it goes. Now is the most expensive time in the world to buy whiskey, so you can't help that. But thank you all for watching. That was a little bit of a rant, I do apologise. This is Whisky Wednesday. This is the Macallan Estate, and I'm Phil here in the Whisky Shop in Manchester. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you next week. Cheers.